Throughout the history of the Catholic Church, many have held the position of Pope. Some of them helped shape Christianity into what it is today, the largest religion in the world by number of adherents. They were more than just religious symbols. As the successors of Christ on earth, according to Christianity, many of them worked hard to make the Catholic Church a dominant political force, not only in Europe but globally. However, others were closer to the devil himself, concerned only with fulfilling their sick desires and satisfying their greed for power and wealth. This brings us to today's topic. Pope Benedict IX, one of the youngest individuals to assume the papacy and the first person to hold the position more than once. But what makes Pope Benedict IX the most evil pope in history? Well, to answer that question, let's begin. For centuries after the rise of Christianity, the word church meant only one thing: the Roman Catholic Church, headquartered in Vatican City, in the heart of Rome. However, in 1054 AD, the church split between East and West in what is known as the Great Schism. While the Catholic Church remained prominent in Western and Northern Europe, the Orthodox Church dominated Eastern Europe and the territories of the Byzantine Empire, such as the Balkans. Both the Pope in Rome and the Patriarch in Constantinople sought to establish their respective branches as the sole and most important representation of Christianity. However, despite human and material losses, neither Catholicism nor Orthodoxy managed to monopolize control over the Christian world. Now, on to the main point. The Pope was not merely a religious or sectarian leader, but also a powerful political ruler. For centuries in Western Europe, the Pope controlled not only Vatican City, but also directly ruled what was known as the Papal States, a vast territory stretching from Rome to the Adriatic Sea. At times, the Papal States shrank significantly due to military defeats or weak and unwise popes. At other times, their territory expanded thanks to strong and shrewd popes. Despite these fluctuations, the Pope remained the head of the Catholic Church, holding authority over both religious and political matters across Western Europe. His primary source of income came from taxes and indulgences imposed by churches, requiring people to pay for absolution from their sins. In other words, the Church was extremely wealthy, and consequently, the Pope was just as rich. If you ask any historian who the worst pope in history was, they will likely tell you it was Pope John XII. His greatest offense was bankrupting the entire Catholic Church. As Pope, he had unrestricted access to the Church's treasury, which was, and still is, worth billions of dollars. However, John XII abused his position excessively, plunging the Vatican into massive debt due to his extravagant spending on women, wars, alcohol, and gambling. Yet, in the 11th century, a far more intriguing figure assumed the papacy, Pope Benedict IX. In my personal opinion, he rightfully deserves the title of the worst pope in history. It may surprise you, but both Pope John XII and Pope Benedict IX belonged to the same noble family, the Roman house of Tusculum, which traced its lineage back to Julius Caesar and Augustus, the first Roman emperor after the fall of the Republic. The Tusculum family was one of the most powerful noble families of the Middle Ages. They were so influential that they essentially decided who would become pope. In the Middle Ages, popes were not elected by the College of Cardinals as they are today. Instead, elections were held democratically among the residents of Rome. However, in reality, there was no true democracy, as the people of Rome were easily bribed with money. The Tusculum family spent vast sums to place one of their own at the head of the Papal States. The name Benedict means blessed in Latin, but this was not his real name. Upon becoming pope, individuals were required to choose a new name. His real name was Theophylactus, which means protected by God. With a name like that and a powerful family behind him, Benedict was destined to be an exceptional pope. And indeed, he was. He assumed the papacy 3 times, making him the only man in history to do so. Benedict was born in 1012. His father, Alberic III, was the mayor of the town of Tusculum, near Rome, from which the noble family derived its name. Before Benedict, there had been 2 other popes from the same family, Benedict VIII and John XIX. After John XIX's death, the Tusculums once again spent heavily to sway the elections in favor of one of their own, Benedict IX. Benedict's first papal reign lasted 12 years, beginning when he was about 20 years old. So, if you're over 20 and haven't accomplished much in life, you might want to reconsider your choices. During his first 12 years as the head of the Catholic Church, Benedict hosted non-stop celebrations inside the Vatican walls. And these weren't just any parties. They were wild orgies filled with women and alcohol. In short, Benedict angered the people of Rome and brought disgrace to the Church. To be fair, the medieval Catholic Church was not the same as it is today. Celibacy was not a requirement for priests, cardinals, or even the Pope. The rule of chastity was only officially added to the Vatican's Code of Conduct by Pope Gregory VII, and even after him, several popes ignored it. Benedict was not required to remain celibate, but the Church encouraged it to preserve its reputation. However, Benedict didn't care. In fact, most historians, if not all, agree that Benedict was bisexual. He engaged in numerous forbidden sexual relationships with both men and women. Homosexuality was not rare in Rome, even after the fall of the Roman Empire. As long as a relationship remained secret, the Church did not interfere or punish those involved. But when the Pope himself was openly engaging in such acts, it became a major scandal. Benedict IX was eventually expelled from Rome after political enemies exposed his sexual escapades and debauched parties. However, he did not repent or abandon his sinful lifestyle. Instead, he sought the help of Holy Roman Emperor Conrad III, who reinstated him as Pope and executed many of his political rivals. After his return, protests erupted in Rome, and eventually the Church put him on trial for adultery, hosting orgies, homosexuality, and even bestiality, sexual relations with animals. Once again, he was expelled, and a new pope, Sylvester III, was appointed. However, Sylvester's reign lasted only 2 months before Benedict returned with an army and seized Rome. Benedict was undoubtedly a hedonist and possibly a megalomaniac, but he was not a fool. Just 1 month after reclaiming the papacy, he voluntarily resigned to avoid further political conflicts. Surprisingly, he did this so he could marry his cousin, an unusual move, even in medieval Europe. Before stepping down, Benedict sold the papacy to his godfather, Gregory VI, in exchange for half a ton of silver. However, Gregory's rule was short-lived, as he was eventually deposed. Not satisfied with retirement, Benedict raised another army, marched on Rome, and forcibly reinstated himself as pope for the 3rd time. Eventually, Holy Roman Emperor Henry III intervened, deposing Benedict and appointing Clement II as the new pope. Although Clement II died within a year, Benedict seized the opportunity to reclaim the papacy again. However, Henry III returned with an army, removed Benedict permanently, and installed Damasus II as pope. Benedict was finally excommunicated and banished from the Church forever. He eventually settled in Grottaferrata, where he reportedly repented for his sins and died in 1056. Benedict IX may have died alone, but he left behind a fascinating legacy. Even he, in the end, acknowledged the wickedness of his rule and the severity of his sins.